Gentlemen, ladies, whatever you might identify as in the year 2017, welcome to the Paragon Competitive League. I know Grimmix identifies as a refrigerator, and that's perfectly fine. I'm Shane Lynch. That's Pith. We're going to get into the next match here. Now, Team Oxygen looked really good. That's expected. Arctic Wolves looked a little bit better than before, but this is a time for them. I want to see them prove themselves, Pith. And if not, maybe not take the game off of Oxygen, at least put up one hell of a fight. I think they're capable of it. I think Suki, with the next level game knowledge that he has and the insight that he's going to bring to the table, whether he is the primary shot caller, but just anytime you have a player that's experienced, good, and wise, it really adds a lot of value to your team. I think this is going to be one hell of a matchup. I still think Oxygen are the favorites going into this, though, Pith, without a doubt.
For sure. I mean, there are not a whole lot of teams that are even able to touch Oxygen too much, and I think you're right. What we need from these teams is just the best match possible. I've been looking forward to this one. I just want to see Arctic Wolves just put down one hell of a fight because they I think deserve it. They deserve to be able to, play against one of these top teams in the game and put up a really good show, even if it doesn't end up being a win. But you know what? I kind of want to see maybe Oxygen NA get toppled a little bit here. I think I want to see Arctic Wolves come into this match with guns ablazing, firing on all cylinders, and not just put up a fight, but I want them to win. I want Arctic Wolves to win.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Guys, let's get into the draft without any further ado here. Between Arctic Wolves and Team Oxygen North America. And see what they elect to go with here. So again, previous to the last match, Team Oxygen ban out that Aurora. As mentioned previously in the broadcast, Aurora has sort of filled the void that Steel has had and dominated for the past 3 or 4 months since the release of Monolith as the most contested primary initiator. Whatever role she's being played in, whether it's jungle, offlane, or support, she can really thrive in either 3 of those lanes. But she's the primary, most contested initiator in the game. And taken out of the equation really opens up the draft for other heroes we haven't seen. I mean, we've seen Grimmix today. We've seen Kwang several times. And we're going to see what they go with. Arctic Wolves with a relatively straightforward and expected ban, taking out Decker. No containment fence this game.
Yeah, that's something that Oxygen NA work a little bit too well with, regardless of if they have Marty or Lucer on their side. It's just a hero that they're very comfortable with playing and having, but instead of the Decker, they are going to be able to pick up themselves a Rampage.
I like that. Arctic Wolves here not counterpicking, but the next to pick, rather. The Grux and the Sparrow here. And Sparrow is the strongest ranged carry in the game right now. I think that is mutually agreed on. However, is she so strong in the grand scheme of things throughout the entire spectrum of the current meta and the current strategy and the way things are working out that you want to pick her up this early? I don't know, because the moment that you pick up a Sparrow that early, then that allows your opponent to, I feel like, have an advantage of the draft. You're like, okay, well, we're just going to wait till, we have no priority on picking our carry, whichever one that they want to get, whether it be Twin Blast, Grim, Sereth, or Murdoch. And it allows them to pick up other heroes who I think are more impactful than Sparrow is throughout the course of the game. You always want to have that core carry, the carry in your lineup, but I feel like teams have been putting so much emphasis into the Sparrow. I'm not a big fan of it, to be perfectly honest. I think Sparrow maybe could be reserved for the second or third stage of the pickup there, and instead picking up heroes like Aurora or Sevarog or Grux or Rampage
Sereth?
Or any one of those other heroes.
Sereth?
Did I say Sereth?
I don't think you said Sereth, but I think you want her in that pack.
I do. Very much so. I do.
She's Bae. I disagree a little bit. I think that just picking up the Sparrow is really needed here. You're right. With the amount of Rangers in the game right now, you absolutely have to be able to get a good one in the draft. And the way that these drafts work, you can pick up one early, and then the other team can kind of just wait until the end of the draft to pick up their Ranger because there's not as much priority on it with the current hero pool. But just the fact that Sparrow is kind of the strongest Ranger in the game means that she is going to get that priority. And if we didn't see Arctic Wolves pick it up in this slot, I'm nearly 100% sure that Oxygen NA would get it in the next one, which would allow Arctic Wolves to sit back a little bit more. But it's just kind of weighing it. Do we have another priority higher than that? I don't actually think that Arctic Wolves do. they can get their other heroes a little bit later.
Picking up the Howitzer and the Bellica, I really like this for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, those heroes individually are very strong, but those heroes have a lot of synergy together, as well as the fact that taking Bellica also restricts it from Arctic Wolves, a denial pickup at the same time. So just really, really strong heroes already on the side of Team Oxygen. As far as their laning goes, could be support Bellica, could be support Rampage. Bellica could be put in an off-lane situation. They have not yet revealed the laning that they're electing to go with or what support they're electing to go with. I think they have picked their support, but which heroes are going to be specifically is not yet fully clear.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of possibilities on Oxygen NA. I also would like to point out that they're picking up the Howitzer and Bellica together. Sometimes we see Bellica played as a counter to the Howitzer, throwing down the Void Drone and then popping him once he uses his ultimate with the Neural Disruption, putting out a huge amount of damage after that. But also for Oxygen NA, since they are playing here, they have Ram Riddles, who is one of the best Bellica players in the game right now. One of the best players mechanically overall. So, I mean, we all know the plays that he's capable of making with her, and it's gotten a little bit easier for him. I mean, we saw some big plays when Bellica was, not at the level that she is right now, and with the buffs, Rammer was like, okay, I guess they really want me to play this hero more.
Yeah, pretty much, my man. It's it's a hero that we're going to be seeing a lot of here. Kwong is a hero we've seen literally every game, and I think he's lost every single one, to be honest, that we've seen him in thus far. He definitely has. There's merit to picking him up. But again, I feel like, you have Sevarog on the field. Sevarog is just, I feel like he does everything that Kwong does except better, with maybe Kwong having a little bit more damage output. But the main thing is that tether into the ultimate as a mean of initiation or catching people out. Sevarog can serve that utility as well with Subjugate a little bit more reliably. Subjugate easier to land, has a bigger distance. Maybe not as much damage, but they're going to go with it nonetheless. I'm assuming this is going to be an off-lane Kwong or a jungle, but with Grux on the field, more than likely, definitely, actually, now that I look at the draft a little bit more holistically here, is going to be in that off-lane position. So I hope they put Kwong in a matchup, though, that favors him. If not favors him, at least he doesn't have too much of a disadvantage, because as of right now, going up against a Bellica or a Howitzer, whoever's on that Kwong is going to be struggling.
Yeah, just a bit. But also looking at the overall lineup for Arctic Wolves, they have both the Kwong and the Grux. So that opens up a couple doors here for Arctic Wolves if they get some kind of advantage in the early game. They also have a Sparrow part of this lineup, which, as we've said, is one of the highest damage rangers in the game. They can get the fast ultimate on her. And that actually opens up a fast prime. So this is actually very reminiscent of a strategy run by Carbon EU, where they went for the prime at about 10, like right when it spawned, they went for it at 10 minutes and got it down at about 10 minutes 30. So if they can get some kind of an advantage around Oxygen NA at that point, that might be a strategy that we see Arctic Wolves running here.
Oxygen, with their last two picks, are going to pick up my boy Narbash, as well as Twin Blast again. So again, Twin Blast, them picking Twin Blast leads me to believe that they're going to be looking for more team fighting, that sort of just put Ram Riddles in the off lane, group up as 4, push objectives, whether it be the Raptors or the green buff early on, gain control of the river buff. And again, Twin Blast, pound for pound, is one of the better early game skirmishers when compared to that of, say, Sparrow or Murdoch. And I think it's just they're just going to, Team Oxygen is going to do what they excel at. I mean, at this point, it's no surprise. I feel like teams know what's going to happen. They know the Oxygen is going to rely on this sort of strategy, but they're just so good at it that even with the team knowing it's their opponent, knowing that that is what is before them, they still struggle to deal with it nonetheless. Arcticos have one more pickup here. I mean, as far as it goes here, imagine it's going to be a support. And it's going to be that Muriel. Muriel's going to be picked up here on the field. Muriel's a hero who her place in the meta just changes every other PCL, I feel like, Piff. There's times where, the last NA event and the one before that, Muriel was like first pick, first ban. Now we've seen her twice, and in both of those times, she's been picked up very late in the draft. But that pick still has a lot of merit. I think actually that's going to, if they're able to utilize her aggressively and say Kwong initiating into the fight with the Judgment of the Heavens on top of a Reversal of Fortune, or maybe sort of the same thing with Grux charging into a smash and grab, they have great aggressive means of initiation with that Reversal of Fortune. I want to see more aggressive Reversal of Fortunes than defensive coming out of Arctic Wolves. If Arctic Wolves are on the defensive, I feel like they're at a disadvantage in this match.
The thing about that is this is a Muriel that may be played by Phasma in the support position. So we've seen Phasma kind of hurt for levels in the past. And Muriel
Yeah.
is one of those supports that you really do need to get that level 5, kind of along the same lines of the Steel. So Phasma really needs to put a little bit more priority on that early and can't really be rotating as much as we saw him on the Narbash in the last game. So a little bit of a change in strategy is definitely in the works here for Arctic Wolves. And you're right, they do have the possibility to have all of that wombo combo going in during the fight, but it's going to have to be able to hit here. And sometimes hitting those combos can be just a little bit difficult, especially against a team like Oxygen NA.
Well, guys, we're going to get into this game. Let us know what you think. Head over to Twitter, join the conversation, use the hashtag PCL. Who do you think won this draft? Do you think Arctic Wolves are finally going to be able to prove themselves as a top team where they can continue to be below always coming up a little bit short? This is the opportunity, and there's only one way to find out. Pith, I'm ready to get this underway, my man.
All right, so let's start up in 3, 2, 1, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Team Oxygen versus Arctic Wolves introducing, and you welcome man to sound like George Bush all of a sudden. Cosby on Grux, Crazy Fool on Kwong, Phasma on Muriel, Survivor on Sparrow, and Suki on Gadget. That's your boys on Arctic Wolves.
That's the Arctic Wolves, boys. Meanwhile, on the side of Oxygen NA, it's going to be Arsenic playing the Howitzer. Imsco, he's got his Twin Blast once again. Ramriddles, we've come to know and love him on the Belka. Lucer, he's going to be handling the Narbash this time around. And Meds already has that Rock on the front lines as the Rampage.
Invading into the jungle very early is Oxygen looking for that, but Arctic Wolves knows what's going on. They are not getting anywhere near that. So they were looking for maybe a pickoff here, but Arctic Wolves are not going to allow that opportunity to happen. Survivor is going to be over in the right lane. I'd imagine it is going to be, yep. So with Phasma on that Muriel, I'm afraid that we're going to see what happened in the previous game where Muriel doesn't hit level 5 until very late. Maybe not as late as we saw in the last match, but I actually really enjoy to see Muriel in a solo lane position. She thrives on getting that experience very, very early. As far as supports go, she needs levels more. She relies on getting levels more than any other support in the game by quite a large amount.
I might put the Steel in there, but yeah, it's close.
But, well, now that Steel pretty much isn't a hero anymore.
Okay,
you know,
I'll give you that one then. Man.
And again, it's going to be a Kwong versus a Howitzer. We saw this before. Crazy Fool, I think, definitely individually is a stronger player than BuzzTech from what we saw in the previous game, but this is still an absolutely one-sided matchup right here of Kwong versus Howitzer. Maybe, I mean, you could even do a aggressive lane here and put Muriel Kwong up against the Howitzer, but nonetheless, this is how the lanes are going to go, and we'll see how this works out. Lucer and Imsco in the mid lane are going to try to mitigate Suki's farm, but Gadget pretty has a decent kit to deal with this with the match lineup that she's dealing with at this point in time.
Yeah, and Suki, definitely a very experienced player. I think it's going to come down to how early those rotations come through. And you already see that Lucer and Imsco, they're not able to be as aggressive onto Suki as they were in their last match. But we do have the rotation on the Crazy Fool.
He's more than likely going to get taken out here. Meds is going to swipe him down. Easy first blood, as if that matchup isn't difficult enough when you have a Rampage coming in there and hitting you with that young boulder. That's going to be a pretty straightforward first blood. So Arsenic already well on his way to getting early farm, early levels on the mech suit Howitzer. Survivor's in some trouble as well. Ramriddle's just doing Ramriddle's things, as we say, man. 1v2 and still somehow finding the advantage in the lane. I mean, Muriel's harassment, I mean, you can't compare her harassment to like a Narbash or a Decker. She's more so just there to be defensive and mitigate damage. But even then, Bellica, if you're able to get that Seismic Assault and the Void Bomb, is a substantial amount of damage, even this early on in the game.
Yeah, I'm looking for this gank on the mid lane, though. Black buff on the Grux as they go for it.
Cosby's the one taking the damage. He's going to be able to get out there, rotating the tower grows the best they can. And it's not going to be enough. The Sticky Bomb actually did not latch over onto Imsco. Even if it did, I'm not sure if that would have been enough damage. Lucer's looking for the thunk onto Cosby. Going to try to take it down. Shield is there. It's going to get smash and grab. Turn around onto Lucer, potentially here. And he does get taken out. So Lucer was pretty thirsty right there. But unfortunately, Cosby is not going to give him what he was looking for. And Narbash gets taken out. Arctic Wolves get themselves on the board.
Yeah, that was just a situation where Lucer did have a really good thunk underneath the tower. But then what ended up happening was he had to wait for his next stun to go off cooldown. So he did actually get it at the top of the steps there, but he just got a little bit too aggressive. And while Narbash does do actually a surprising amount of damage early, like he just kind of hits people with drumsticks and stuff, and it ends up working out for him. But this time around, he was surrounded by 3 heroes, and it's a little bit difficult for him to survive against that at most stages of the game.
Crazy Fool has his wave pushed out. I would like to see Arctic Wolves give Crazy Fool a little bit of support, whether it's from Cosby on the Grux, or whether it's just Phasma rotating over there and trying to mitigate this howitzer here. Don't get me wrong, like, Ram Riddles is going to get his farm no matter what. I feel like you're not really utilizing the strength of Muriel right here. Survivor, as long as he plays it right, really shouldn't give up a kill, even as someone as talented as Ram Riddles is. They shouldn't be able. Survivor should be able to at least come on that lane even. I think rotating Phasma over to Kwong and helping him against Arsenic mitigates Arsenic's farm, but more importantly, puts farm onto Crazy Fool that he really, really needs. Kwong is another hero who can be feast or famine, and if he gets behind, it's just he's a non-factor. He'll tether and ult in and then die, and that's really all the contributions here. Howitzer, with farm on him, Howitzer we've seen in the past actually play as a carry very successfully. We haven't seen it in a while, but we have seen it before. He scales very, very well. So not a strategy. I mean, they're obviously not electing to do that. That's maybe something we'll see here in a bit. Nonetheless, as far as the laning goes, it's just been a 1-for-1 exchange, and these teams are matching up a little more evenly than I expected.
Well, definitely a lot more evenly than the last match that we saw with Oxygen NA, where they were pushing in tires a little bit more. But this time around, they're not really being able to put as much pressure out.
Yeah, just playing it a little bit more safely. I think they're perfectly okay with that. They're getting aggressive on a Ram Rails who should get taken out here. A couple more auto attacks. Smash Grab actually missed on him, surprisingly, here, but Phasma's going to get the kill. So that was a big, a 3-man rotation. That's a lot of resources dedicated to getting that kill. But I don't mind it, because if you're able to stint out Ramril's farm, that's a good strategy to have. That is actually a big linchpin of Oxygen, is sort of the 4-man Paragon while Ramril's farm. If you're able to negate Ramril's farm, then they aren't able really to ever group up as 4 people and get anything going. So I talked at length about how I want to see that Muriel rotate, but now that I look at what they're doing here, I actually think it's a smart decision to try to put emphasis in that lane against Ram Riddles here. So instead of putting their bets of let's get farm on our Kwong, they're doing the converse to that Pith, and they're saying let's mitigate the farm of Bellica on Ram Riddles.
That's the thing, though. Like, they've tried before to keep Ram Riddles down in a match, and sure, you can just disrupt him for the first part of the game, but that's forcing your resources onto that, and he's still going to be able to get farm eventually, so it's just kind of stopping the bottle for a little bit, but eventually that cork is going to blow.
The cork is going to blow. I love it. Both of these guys have hit level 5 here. And there's just a Crazy Fool doing a good job at securing his farm in an unfavorable matchup. Hasn't been taking too much harassment damage. I feel like Arsenic at any moment could potentially get a pick off, especially when Meds just comes over there. Hits him with the boulder. R2000 rocket is there. Tether doesn't land on the Meds. If it did, he should have been able to get away completely clean here. But with Cosby rotating over, he is going to be able to get away here. So he is, last time that gank happened, Crazy Fool got taken out. But the quick reactions on him, as well as having additional levels up in the defensive utility of the armor granted to him on his RMB, is going to get away from that just fine.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a gank that was kind of difficult to have, and one thing that Kwong does have is a pretty extensive health pool, so it's pretty difficult to kill him, and also has a lot of armor to work with. So there's going to be another rotation onto Arsenic here, see if he's able to get himself out of it.
Phasma's doing a good job body blocking here. Void Drum goes down to try to do something here. Phasma's taking the tower. He's not level 5. Ramiral's actually, look at there. He's trying to juke around the tower. One more auto attack, one more instance of damage, and Survivor's going to get taken out. And man, that's not the way you want to see things go right there, Pith, to put it lightly.
Yeah, absolutely not. And meanwhile, on the other side of the map, there was a little bit of aggression going in onto Arsenic, but he actually got himself out of that as well. So Ramriddles comes out on top of the exchange, like we've seen in the past from him, and Oxygen NA keep the ball rolling.
Scalda, meanwhile, hanging out by himself, being the Peruvian potato that he is, and just farming. I love Imsco, man. I absolutely love that. He's just such a very, like, soft-spoken guy, but every now and then he just has these moments of brilliance where he just says something, you're like, Oh wow, I never thought IMSCO is that wise and insightful.
Articulate is what they call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, the big words coming out there.
There we go.
Looking at the farm here the first time, 9 minutes in. Economically, we do see that there's a small but discernible advantage going over to the boys in blue for Oxygen North America. Ramrils at the top with 13, 12, 12 over on IMSCO and Arsenic, respectively, here. So they're handling maybe about 20 to 30 CS, and kills are even here. As of right now, this is absolutely, I mean, I really don't think one team has any advantage over each other to the point where they can start taking high priority objectives, aggressive invasions into the jungle, or taking the raptors or anything like that. Even though Arctic Wolves has the Grux, which one of his big strengths is allowing you to take big objectives a little bit earlier. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that. Instead, more gank oriented, as we see Cosby is going to try to rotate over here. Uses the challenge of the Warlord, actually misses the smash and grab on a Ram Riddles there. And not something you want to see. I think Ram Riddles should get taken out. Can Cosby get away? He is. All the meanwhile, on the other side of the field, we did see there was a counter kill in the mid lane. Lucer and IMSCO pick up a kill on Suki. So 1 for 1 in the grand scheme of things. I think Oxygen A are going to come out a little bit ahead right there. I think taking out the Gadget is a little bit more of a higher priority target.
Yeah, just a little bit there. I don't even know how I dodged that smash and grab.
Around the corner, and Crazy Fool just finds himself a little bit of trouble, not thinking that was going to happen. Here comes Survivor with the inner fire. He's going to be able to take out Lucer, but the main target here is IMSCO. Snare lands. They're not able to have the follow-up damage here, and the rest of the team is rotating over. R2000 Rocket to the face of Phasma. No, don't know if there's enough mana. I don't know if they want to continue to chase this. Phasma moves forward. The rest of his teams falls back. They still are able to pick up a support there. So any kill is a good kill, especially when it goes over to your carry on Survivor. So Survivor is a player that me personally, I don't know much about, but I've heard I've heard in the back alleys of Monolith and Paragon that he is an incredibly talented player and a big up and coming carry player in the scene. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do against the powerhouse team of Team Oxygen right here.
Yeah, I'd actually rate Survivor up along the lines of iCameron and Undead Paladin in terms of being able to just turn things for his team very well, get a lot of farm up, and really one of the best rangers in the game at this moment. And we'll have to see how he's able to do with Arctic Wolves. I really like how they've been utilizing him, and he's done quite well in a lot of these matches.
Black buff on the Sparrow, very threatening if you're able to get yourself an engagement, but both of these teams are playing much more to the rotates into the lanes, and we're not seeing that 4-man group up from Oxygen, at least not right now. We might see that here in a little bit as we are approaching that 15-minute mark as we transition to the mid-game. Everyone has their ultimates online. Some heroes actually approaching the second level of their ultimates. Suki's low on mana. He has to be careful here. A Neural Disruptor could be enough damage to get him taken out. Phasma's going to make Reminald shy away here, but yeah, I think Oxygen is giving a little bit more respect over to Arctic Wolves than their last opponent, and I am very tickled to see that. But I think it's only a matter of time before we see Arctic Wolves hit a certain power curve and start grouping up, pushing into the jungle, the strong side, and trying to take Raptors. Of course, the team, the Dawn rather, always has a little bit of an advantage with the Raptors when it comes to the geography of the map. So that is something that Arctic Wolves has favoring them, is being on the side where they have that advantage. So that may also be a contributing factor as to why we aren't seeing Oxygen group up a little bit more delayed or later than we normally expect them to do so.
Yeah, I only believe we've seen like one kind of big play around the Raptors today at all, and that's over 3 games, which is kind of surprising to me that we're seeing teams put a lot less effort toward that area on the map. I think they just don't really have enough time to go for it right now. Like maybe in this type of match, we're going to see them contest it a little bit more. We are at 12 minutes, and I believe there are still 3 Raptors up, which should be cake for the Spur to go take at some point. But the cake is alive, so got to be careful.
There's always that, there's always that fear that one team has of where one carry just gets ahead. And there's a big snowball factor surrounding the Raptors right now, which I know has actually been talked about quite a bit behind the scenes competitively, is that the Raptors are essentially, the moment you gain control economically on one of your carries, it's just it becomes more difficult than one would expect to try to narrow that economical disadvantage that you have, because one team just has a massive a massive advantage of that ability to take those Raptors out without delegating any support or any other resources over to that side of the field there. So we'll have to see if that'll be the case. But right now, these teams continue to go neck and neck. We haven't seen any aggression out of either one of these teams anytime soon. The only tower that fell is the off-lane tower for Oxygen, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. That's not going to keep Ramriddles from pushing this lane out 1v2. One of the biggest reasons why Ramriddles is able to play this way, where he just sort of goes headlong into a lane where he has a disadvantage, and it's not like he has that much vision. He has a single ward overlooking the entryway to the weak side of the jungle. That ward really isn't in a place to give him enough leeway to get out of what would be a rotate and a kill. It's more so the rest of his team constantly calling out missing and rotations of the other team, as well as just having a great deal of game sense and keeping his eye on that minimap, checking that minimap every second, and having good whereabouts as to where the other players are. So it's not just him as an individual who's able to make these plays and play that style, but also his team enables that as well. 15 minutes in, the Raptors are starting to be taken by Cosby and Suki, but as you can see, Meds is over his way on there.
Nice
Try to stop it. They get the boulder onto Suki, and the ultimate form, he goes R6 to rotate over, knock him into the wall here. Reversal of Fortune's going down. There needs to be a shield onto Suki. He drops the Tesla Dome in a panic, and he is able to get away. Meds' ultimate is about to expire here, so he's not going to have that region. Again, the shields coming out from Phasma have been clutch. That's 2 kills that have been denied from Oxygen entirely because of the shields coming out from the Muriel. Now that Meds isn't in that big Hulk mode form, they're looking for a kill onto him. Survivor is pursuing, but he's got to be careful from Thunk getting him taken out, and they are going to fall away. And Imsco is going to be the one that falls. It's actually Crazy Fool who picks up the solo kill in the mid lane while we were watching that pursuit over in the left lane. So Arctic was the first real engagement of the match. It goes over to Arctic Wolves. It's a narrow advantage that they come out with right there, but it is an advantage nonetheless, especially on top of the fact that they're picking up these Raptors here, Pith.
Yeah, Raptors huge this game. They kind of need the Grux to get over here to tank things up a little bit more and be able to take these Raptors a little bit better. So eventually it does get over. They did take a lot of harassment, and maybe Ramriddles can do something off the backside, but they should know that the Raptors are going on. But he's also taking the tower at the right lane, so they do get a little bit of something off of this play. They just... Losing these Raptors is kind of really, really bad for Arctic Wolves right now. Or rather, bad for Oxygen and Arctic Wolves taking it.
That was I mean, all of that right there was entirely set up because Crazy Fool got that kill into Imsco.
Absolutely, yeah.
If Crazy Fool didn't get that kill, they wouldn't be able to have had a advantage enough to take those Raptors. Or if they did, they could have been punished for it quite heavily. I want to isolate and take a look at Cosby's Grux build. Cosby has been known, even before we've seen him much play, has been known for playing Grux quite a bit and just being a very talented Grux player. And his builds have a little bit of uniqueness to them. The way he builds Grux reminds me of Blood Mortius from Carbon. Specifically, he picks up that blood-soaked armor. That's an item we don't see very often, but really that item is made for Grux. So it gives him the defensive of the armor, but more importantly, it's a bleed is applied every single time he takes an instance of damage while that is activated for him. So it just builds into the fact that he just gives Grux all the bleeds in the world and really increases his DPS and makes it so he actually sort of has a deflective way of counteracting damage. Ramriddles is in a little bit of trouble. We actually see the ultimate from Crazy Full missed. The thunk from Lucer just in time to prevent the knockup of Reversal of Fortune to get Ramriddles isolated, and they're continuing to pursue here. Lucer's going to be taken out here, but it's better him than Ramriddles at this point. Arctic Wolves still pick up the kill, but man, did they they had to utilize so many ultimates. Reversal of Fortune, Phasma only level 1. I believe that's a 2.5-minute cooldown right there just for a support kill.
Yeah, it is quite long, but I think it's definitely necessary in that situation, just to have everybody in that fight. It's unfortunate that they only take down the Narbash, but, you know, with playing against a player like Ramriddles, and you could see that he was just kind of going around that fight, waiting for Phasma to show up. Oh, just nearly missing that rock, but... yeah, just really having good map knowledge, getting themselves some kind of way to get into the fight.
Meds popping the ultimate. They're going to look to get on a Cosby here. Look for the jump. He's going to hit Phasma instead, not going for Cosby. So it essentially is going to be a support for support then out there. So Oxygen and A divvy up and are able to make that a little bit more even. And with them putting 3 people here, are they going to go for a tier 2? I don't think so. Instead, we see Ramriddles and Lucer over here in mid lane threatening this tier 2 tower. But again, I think it's too early for either one of these teams to push down a tier 2 tower. As far as map control goes, I got to say that Oxygen A has done a good job up until this point of keeping all their towers alive.
They have done a good job of keeping those towers up, but I think Arctic Wolves have been forced to do maybe even a little bit better this time around. They've not really lost to that split pushing pressure of Oxygen NA, which if a tier 2 tower goes down at this point in the game, that's going to be why. If Oxygen NA go for a fight elsewhere and then you've got Arsenic or maybe Ramriddles pushing down a tier 2, that's the only way it really goes down, and we haven't really seen Arctic Wolves succumb to that kind of pressure.
Taking a look at the numbers, let's take a look how Crazy Fool's building here, because this is the first time we've seen Kwang today where Kwang is actually not just dying in fights and actually contributing to the game. In fact, Crazy Fool has been a big part of Arctic Wolves in this game so far. And it's a pretty straightforward build here. He actually has 8 points to spend, and that's what he's going to do here. Picking up a Tainted Magic. This is interesting here, Pit. This is a card we normally see on heroes like Gideon or other heroes like that, but on Kwang is something... that I don't think I've ever seen a Tainted Magic on Kwang before. Otherwise, he's building up a Temper Plate as well, so building into that, I'd imagine he's just going to put some minor points of basic attack or basic health into that to give him a little bit of defensive utility, and that makes Kwang deceptively difficult to take down, actually, and quite tanky when you take into consideration the armor that is granted to him by the Judgment of the Light of the Heavens. So he actually not only is going to be able to get decent damage in these fights if he lands a tether, but also going to be able to soak up quite a bit of damage as well. I like this build coming out from Crazy Fool.
Yeah, I mean, also Tainted Magic usually picked up against a Rampage, which you do see him here, so Meds is going to have a little bit more of a difficult time in these fights.
That's right.
And
forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes a whole lot of sense in this kind of situation, but Oxygen NA, they're already making a push for a tier 2 pretty concerted here as well.
Ramriddles has the shield of the green buff. Normally you want to see that on either your carry to allow him to get aggressive or onto your frontliner to soak damage. Just one sticky bomb and Meds is down to about 2/3 HP. And if Crazy Fool is able to land a big tether here, he might be able to initiate in. Meds is going to have to use that ultimate. The Tainted Magic is there, but he's going to be able to jump away immediately. Arsenic actually flanking from the back lines. The Make It Rain was there, but not much value. Reversal of Fortune on Cosmic. He gets absolutely destroyed by the time he's able to do much of anything right there. So Team Oxygen played that so very well. Support for a jungler thus far in this fight. Emsco has the sticky bomb, a little bit more damage, might be able to enough. This Crazy Fool has a tether, he doesn't, he has no mana. The Void Drone is just completely sucking them dry of any mana. They can't use any of their abilities. Now Survivor gets hit by the Seismic Assault. Oh, he does get taken out. Ramriddles hits him with that SMG. And now Phasma's next on the hit list. Should be able to get taken out. Trying to use the snare right there from Gadget, but Ramriddles is going to dive the tower and get the kill. That was a beautifully coordinated and executed team fight by Team Oxygen. They only lose their Narbash and they pick up 4 for 1. And that's the Team Oxygen we expect to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw Arsenic with some huge rockets in that fight, hitting onto 2 a couple of times there. And you just see the huge damage potential that Oxygen have with this double caster setup that they are running. Huge amount of damage with the Void Bomb and the rockets just thrown out throughout the entire fight. And they also managed to keep the Twin Blast up through the entire thing, even with the Imsco guy getting just a little bit low thanks to that piercing shot, nearly killing him off there. Just one more hit would have done it. But again, that Void Drone, like you said, just making it really difficult for Arctic Wolves to get into that fight at all. And we continue to see these advantages building up for Oxygen NA. Yeah.
The game has been pretty much even up until that point. And when you have matches that are conservative on both sides of the field, it boils down to which team is getting more efficiency out of the map. And Oxygen A have had a slight advantage with that. But those slight advantages, when combined with successful team fights like that, it literally just boils down to one team fight at that point in time. And now with Team Oxygen having the very obvious advantage, now picking up the Raptors as well. For Imsco, I believe they picked up 2 Raptors, minimum 1. Cosby's now caught out, taking a lot of damage. Are they going to continue to pursue here? Phasma's there to give him the speed boost and get away. So Cosby's going to get away what I thought for sure was a secure gank. But now that they won that fight, Team Oxygen, they're starting to group up and they're starting to get more aggressive, invading the strong side of the jungle. They're able to deny the green buff and pick it up for themselves. Meds has that online. He has the trio of Madstone gems that we expect to see. And they can really... I think we're going to start seeing the Ramriddles split pushing with the 4-man Paragon grouping up of Team Oxygen now. They were waiting for a landmark inside of this game for that to happen. The last exchange was that landmark, and this is when we're going to start seeing the Team Oxygen that we know and we love.
Yeah, absolutely. They can use that little springboard to jump off the deep end into these team fights, and it's looking like that deep end is having a lot of water softening that blow, because now they're going to go right for Arctic Wolves, and we'll see if they end up taking any more objectives. There was one Raptor going the way of Arctic Wolves, but still that Prime is going to hang in the balance, and both teams can take it pretty well. I hope that we're going to see a good fight around the Prime pit, because I think that's where most of the aggression is going to come to a head in this match.
Couldn't agree more. Arsenic has picked up his Hydroverser. So the way the math works on the Hydroverser, of course, is that around level 10, if you're playing a caster like Howitzer or Gideon Gadget, so on and so forth, around level 10 and 11 is where that 8-point investment into the Hydroverser actually grants you more power than that of a 8-point, say, Adamant Edge or Burst Engine or something along those lines. And, of course, they don't have to worry about the nuisance of a Void Drone because they have it for themselves. So picking up Hydroverser against a Bellica sometimes isn't necessarily the most efficient thing, but you have it for yourself, you better believe you're going to see that coming out here. And that card, the way it scales, just that 8-point investment just gets better and better as the game goes on. So Arsenic already was doing a lot of damage with those R2000 rockets. Expect to see him really chunking people down. He has the red buff right now, so red buff on Howitzer, on a 60-point Howitzer in the late game, is honestly one of the most threatening things in this game. It's ridiculous. You can get like 600-point damage R2000 rockets, which is like a half to maybe even a little over 50% of a carry's health at that stage of the game.
Yeah, well, it's just ridiculous how much those rockets are able to do, even without that red buff. Ramriddles could be in a little bit of trouble here with a rotation from Crazy Fool, though.
Has to land the tether. They have to land the tether if they want to get this off here. Ramriddles going to try to do what he can here. They're not even going to go for it. They're just going to go in there and just get in his face. Lucer is here. There's a thunk. Speed boost as well. And the tether misses. He isn't able to get that. Phasma's here to provide a shield on a Crazy Fool. They are putting so much into Ramriddles. But now here comes Arsenic. The snare is there to make it rain. They're just sitting in it right now. They're trying to get away, but it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now Meds is going to soak up the Sticky Bomb. Expect him to turn around potentially and look for a boulder if the rest of his team show up. Not going to be the case. They're saying, you know what, let's cut our losses. Let's give up this kill. Allow Imsco to push. But I don't know if Imsco's going to be able to get much out of this. If Arctic was, yeah, they're already backing. I'm not sure if Imsco's going to be able to pick up this tier 2 tower. Suki's already on the way. Crazy Fool's going to be heading there too. And, well, as I say that, Suki goes the other way. There we go. So now they're responding to this. So as long as Arcticos are able to secure this tier 2 tower, I think they're going to come out of this ahead. And on the other side of the field, we see Phasma and Survivor putting some pressure on the right lane here.
Yeah, it's really difficult for either team to secure a tier 2 tower here. So Arctic Wolves actually take a really good fight around right and maybe give themselves a little bit more of an advantage here. With neither one taking the tier 2, you kind of get that split push that didn't really work well at all for Imsco, as he didn't join his fight there. Perhaps if he was able to get there, things could have ended a little bit differently for Oxygen, and they could have felt a little bit more comfortable going into the fight and doing as much as they could. But it looks like the rotation is still going to come out to mid.
A mid tier 1 tower 27 minutes isn't necessarily the biggest deal to lose in the world. Phasma has the purple buff and has been spotted out being in the shadow plane.
I don't know if they saw him.
Be able to get away.
I think they just threw out a thunk and Lucer happened to hit it onto the Muriel. I don't see a word there. That's the thing. So I don't think they actually
that's true.
saw
You're right.
Muriel.
I think Lucer is probably going like, my thunk bugged out. What the hell's going on?
Like,
no, they're astute enough to where they probably realized what was actually happening there. They probably saw it was a purple buff just picked up on Phasma. So let's take a look at the aftermath of that last exchange there. Despite the fact that it wasn't like some massive one-sided advantage for Arctic Wolves, they still were able to take a team fight in a way that I thought they weren't able to. So economically here, Survivor on Sparrow at 43 card points to Imsco at 41. So we actually see a lead of Sparrow right here. Sparrow, when it comes to the late game situation in a 60 card point,
we've got to
Sparrow
fight though.
Absolutely has a big potential. Meds, he's got to be very careful. They're going in there to try to take down the double smash grab on Imsco, but they're all sitting in the Make It Rain. They have to be so careful. Cosmic gets bursted down 1 for 1, but that Make It Rain from Arsenic does so much damage. Muriel isn't able to do much of anything. And Survivor now, maybe looking to get on Meds. Their piercing arrow. He throws the boulder. Oh, Meds dodges it, jumps in the air. Is it the shoes? I think it is their pith. And a 2 for 3 exchange just like that. Both the care, actually no, Imsco gets taken out and Survivor, living up to his name, survives, but it is a 2 for 3 exchange.
You want to check the time a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. Am I... Oh, I'm at 28:52.
All right, so you're only like 4 seconds behind, but...
oh, whoops.
It was a little bit strange. I was like, what's going on? We're seeing... That already happened. Try 29:30. Try to get there.
29:30. All right, guys. All right, guys. You just hear the,
Again...
You just hear the,
apologies, guys. It's it's a little bit difficult sometimes with the replay system. We have to be on completely separate replays in order to watch these fights. So it's kind of difficult to stay synced up, but we do our best here. And
all right, I'm at 29:30.
4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we're back on it. Apologies for that, guys. I was like, what the heck is going on? Oh man.
It's all good, but still, Imsco, it was a 3 for 2, but the carry player of Arctic Wolves survived, while Imsco did not. So that still could be a economical advantage if Arctic Wolves played their cards right there. We did see the Tier 2 tower was taken out in the mid lane, so they did lose their jump pads, but 29 minutes in, I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world. So all things considered, Oxygen definitely came out of that ahead, but by really not that much.
Yeah, it was close around that fight at least. Ramriddle's still farming up extremely well on his Valk. He's actually ahead of Survivor right now, and Imsco and Survivor are both pretty even. So, I mean, there's still a lot of room for each team to make a mistake, and I think obviously, making a mistake at this stage of the game is definitely going to be fatal. But I mean, if you don't make a mistake and just comes down to a prime play, it's going to be really difficult for whichever team loses out on it to actually come back in this match. Still, after that fight, there is a tier 2 tower down in mid, so Oxygen and I do take a little bit more after it with these jump pads being down, making Arctic Wolves' rotations just that much more difficult. But there's still a lot of room for error here.
Lucer gets hit with the smash and grab, but the rest of the team was right around the corner. Thunk on to Crazy Fool. They're looking for initiation. And Cosby's in the front line, but when it comes to overall tankability, Grux is not the tankiest person in the world. Lucer is going to get taken out, but not the biggest deal in the world. Reversal of Fortune now into Meds. Meds is in that enraged form, and this is actually breaking down right now to where the front line of Arctic Wolves is one of them is already down. Crazy Fool's next on the field, and Survivor gets isolated and picked up. The Kwong and Grux were just so desperately trying to stay alive that they completely abandoned their Sparrow. And Arctic Wolves, they've been playing phenomenally up until this point. The invasion right there from Oxygen, I think, just completely caught them off guard. And 4 go down. They lost their Bellica and the Narbash. Not the biggest deal in the world. Imsco actually looking for a kill on the Suki right there. A cheeky play, but I feel they should be able to pick up this mid inhibitor here. Suki has to be very careful because he's the lone survivor of this pit. And even though it's only 3 men on the field here for Oxygen, they have the minion wave, and Imsco is still on the field. They can at least get devastating amount of damage to the core if they do get that kill. But they're not. They're going to back up. They're going to heal, tend to their wounds. And imagine the next objective on the field here, the next win condition that Team Oxygen are looking for is going to be that Orb Prime, as you just foreboded prior to that fight going down right there, Pith.
Yeah, I did have another Suki bug in there as well with him being on low health. I'm pretty sure that with you fixing the replay, you were able to avoid that. So you did see his health the entire time. But yeah, I got another replay bug there.
It happens, guys. It happens. Suki, don't worry. He's not invincible. He's at 0 out of 1,300 health. It's perfectly fine here. But with that fight, I think the biggest issue in that fight came down to shot calling there inside of that fight. Crazy Fool and Grux just allowed Survivor to get isolated. They were really, really thirsty for that kill onto Imsco. But Imsco, just because Twin Blast has a little bit more mobility and survivability than that of Sparrow, Arctic Wolves had to commit way more to trying to get the carry than that of Oxygen. But look at this play coming out from Oxygen. I'm sorry, of Arctic Wolves. It's Arctic Wolves are the ones that pick up the Orb Prime here of all people. Imsco gets caught out and he gets taken down. Cosby gets stunned up, but he's done his job. Phasma still is reversal of fortune, but Ramriddle gets the pistol and shoots him in his face. Neural Disruptor takes him out. So 1 for 1, but they still have to be careful here. Ooh, Survivor, if he gets thunked up, this could be very, very bad. Oh, the knock-up mine. You can do all the shields in the world, but it doesn't matter. Survivor was a little bit late to recognize the retreat call from Arctic Wolves, and just like that, both the carries get taken out right there. Survivor was able to get away and retreated at the correct moment. This could be Arctic Wolves bringing this game back into their hands, but that one mistake from Survivor is going to cost them greatly here. And picking up the Orb Prime is going to be pretty much be null and void at this point in time with the kill onto the Sparrow.
It is a little bit null, but on the right side, there were minions pushing in for the tier 2 tower, which did end up going down. So, still, both teams without their jump pads from the base at this point. So, you know, it's not terrible for Arctic Wolves. They still get the jump pads out. They still have a prime on a couple of members of their team, just not really on who it counts on, not on the survivor at all.
And Suki did go down there as well, guys. I believe there's a display bug, but at least on my end, Suki did get taken out. So it was a 1 for 2 exchange. Yeah. Even with the Orb Prime, I think it just they had the better initiation and the overall just better execution in that last engagement, despite the fact that Arctic Wolves had their Prime cards online. I have to say, Narbash is a hero generally we don't see much of, and when we do see him, it's pretty underwhelming. Lucer has done a really, really good job of utilizing his ultimate in ways that we haven't really seen before. Maybe not that's not the correct way to put it, but he's always done a good job at following up with big CC with his ultimate, as opposed to, like, normally when we see Crash Bang Boon, it's because the Narbash player is like, oh shit, I'm caught out, like, oh god, and you know what I mean, like it's more of a desperation. Lucer has actually used it to I think great efficiency, and I like to see that people are really pushing the boundaries of a hero, even one like Narbash, who is considered pretty weak in the current meta. So really glad to see that. Mid lane, Arctic Wolves, they still have Prime card in 3 of their 5 players here. So they still have a little bit of time here where they could make a push. A tier 1 tower push at 35 minutes isn't the biggest deal. The main goal here is to get that tier 2 tower and try to take a fight back. And finally, we see Phasma utilizing that global presence of the Muriel, being in a side lane and can be able to sweep into that fight at a moment's notice.
Yeah, he's finally at the point where he's able to do that. And it looks like Oxygen and they are trying to find that initiation.
Meds is in the front line. He isn't even enraged yet. Now he's popping it. Has that instant boulder online, but the Tainted Magic is going to go away right there. So no Tainted Magic. You might see a reinitiation. Make It Rain is being using it as a zone tool, but no one's really inside of it. Good retreat tactics. Crazy Fool, Reversal of Fortune just gets blown up. The shields from Muriel, unfortunately, don't scale that well into the later stages of the game, and he just gets absolutely blown up right there through the damage, despite the fact that they had those. That's a 1-for-1 so far. Both these teams have now reset this fight, potentially looking for a re-engagement. Meds has that boulder. He lands it onto Survivor. But the follow-up isn't there. R2000 rocket lands, sending Survivor down to about half HP, and it's just Mids chasing down 1v2. But they got to make sure that they don't get isolated here as Cosby lands the smash and grab, and now he's by himself. Just gets absolutely blown up. Arctic Wolves, again, it looks like they're just not quite as fluid with the rotations as Oxygen, as well as Oxygen's positioning their pith was so good. They had Meds on the low ground with Imsco up in the high ground shooting through that fog, and that allowed them to just isolate Cosby. Even though Cosby got a good smash and grab, it put him into a poor position, and they're continuing to pursue here. If they can take out Survivor, they might be able to just outright win this game. Imsco dashes forward. Not sure if they're going to be able to. There needs to be a boulder. There needs to be something. They're just going through all the way to the core. The boulder doesn't land. But look at this creep wave in mid lane. If this doesn't end the game, it's still going to do a significant amount of damage to the core here.
Yeah, it is a pretty large creep wave. That was just kind of a situation where Imsco and Meds would say, like, they're zombies or something, just running for any hero they could find, just looking for blood, but they could not find it. They're eventually just losing that lust that they had. But in that last play, we were talking about how Lucer is doing pretty well in the Narbash, using the Crash Bang Boom at the right times, and that is kind of one of the most difficult skills to be able to utilize well, because you definitely want to get it off in a fight. It is pretty good with a knockup, but getting to that point where you're able to get it is kind of difficult, just because you can be interrupted so easily throughout. And that time, I feel like Lucer kind of goes in without a whole lot of backup from his team. I think that just using that ability requires a lot of patience for yourself. You have to wait until that first line of disables comes through, just waiting for the cooldowns to be down, and then you can kind of come in with it. And that was a situation where Lucer wasn't really on the right mark with it. You can get a really good hit with it, and while Narbash might not be the best support in the game, he does have one of the best stuns with the Thunk.
Yes.
I think it's
so. Look at this aggression here. I think you'll be able to get the kill on Imsco. Yeah, easy day right there. Imsco just gets caught out, and that's pretty uncharacteristic, to be honest. Normally they're able to figure that out. Mid lane they get a reprisal kill. Grux gets taken out too, but taking out the carry, the fully farmed carry, 70-minute death timers, 38 minutes into the game. That definitely, absolutely, is going to be favoring Arctic Wolves here. They're able to stabilize and make a concerted push. They might be able to find themselves taking an inhibitor and resetting this game to 1-for-1 on the inhibitors. Crazy Fool is pursuing down Ram Riddles. Tether is going to land, and they're going to try to isolate Ram Riddles. A couple more damage, a sticky bomb, anything like that to make it rain, knowing that they're dropping it down. Actually, just gets the Survivor just almost gets taken out. Absolutely mad, lands the boulder, and he gets the kill. That was so well done by Arsenic. They all dropped down. Their eyes got bigger than their stomach, and unfortunately, they just got torn apart. That last barrage of Make It Rain right there onto Survivor literally brought him down to 1% HP. Meds went enraged. He just went in there, landed the boulder, and that may be it. I don't know if they can defend here. It's just Suki and Muriel versus 4 team members of Team Oxygen with a significant creep wave. Arsenic is the MVP if they win this game right here, Pith. That was just one of the best Make It Rains I've ever seen.
He just put it down in exactly the right position. He knew they were dropping down off of that cliff, and the rest is just cake for Oxygen NA, but actually not a bad fight at all from Arctic Wolves.
Yep, they are able to take out Ram Riddles. Cosby smash and grabbed Ram Riddles down into the Tesla Dome. So Arctic Wolves keep themselves in this game. I thought for sure that was it. I thought that was game right there, but good play by Cosby to get the smash and grab, and Phasma was barely able to get away right there. So this game, Arctic Wolves, they're down, but they're sure as hell not out right here. And we're at the point where economically, these teams are at that 60-point wall where it's not a matter of economics anymore. The carries have hit their power. The mid laners have hit their power. And it all comes down to just team fighting, outthinking, and outmaneuvering your opponents. In this situation before, we've seen Oxygen and A struggle a little bit against teams who are very cerebral and conservative. So if Arctic Wolves are to take a match off of Oxygen, I think it would be just because they out-rotate and out-maneuver. But when it comes to 5v5 team fights, Oxygen have them beat every single time.
Yeah, Oxygen actually do have a little bit more of an advantage in terms of card points here. They have 3 members of their team up to 60 card points, and Meds is getting up there as well. Poor Lucer 0-8 right now, but he's still trying to do as much as he can as a Narbash, kind of drawing the short stick in this one, having to play that hero, but he's still trying to do as much as possible. And, you know, it's a little bit strange that even after that last fight, Oxygen NA can't get that kill shot, but still, Prime Buff is up for themselves here, and I don't think that they let Arctic Wolves take it this time around.
I agree. I think they're going to put much more eyes onto that constantly. If everyone's missing, we've got to make sure we're checking out that Orb Prime. Raptor's pretty much a non-factor at this point, unless you want to get some farm onto maybe your jungler or your support or something like that. But the core players on each side of the field are pretty much all at 60 points. I think maybe Crazy Fool and Cosby are the ones that will benefit the most from farm. But Arsenic, Imsco, and Ram Riddles all at 60 points. Meds at 50. He's not too far off as well. So the win condition for both of these teams is surrounding that Orb Prime. 2 times we've seen Oxygen try to make a push for the core, and 2 times we've seen Arctic Wolves defend it, even at a man disadvantage. So clearly Oxygen need more than just a 1 or 2 man advantage to end this game. They either have to take an absolute ace, which haven't really done this fight. They've won fights, but it hasn't been absolutely one-sided. I think it's going to come down to Orb Prime, who's able to pick it up, and which team is able to stabilize after the fact. Because anytime there's an Orb Prime fight, generally both teams are bruised and bloodied. And if one team is able to stabilize or just take advantage of that, they can just win the game. The Arctic Wolves is down the inhibitor, but at this point, that's almost meaningless with how long death timers are, Pith.
Yeah, I mean, if Arctic Wolves can maybe fight around this Prime or get an inhib of their own, they've evened things right back up. And right now, we do see Oxygen NA try to take this out, and the Prime is going to fall pretty quickly to this one. It's getting late into the game, and this can't really stay for all that long. Nice zoning by Lucer.
So the Orb Prime has been activated. Generally, what you want to see is you try to punish the team doing the Orb Prime, but Phasma gets hit by the boulder. He's going to get taken out here. And that's not what you're looking for. Crazy Fool goes in with a Judgment of the Heavens. Imsco has been isolated. Cosby and Crazy Fool are trying to do the cam. Here comes Ram Riddles, though. A Seismic Assault onto 2. He lines it up. It's beautifully done. The Void Drone. The man is all getting taken out, and they're just so low. Meanwhile, Arsenic isolates Survivor. And again, the front line of Arctic Wolves doesn't protect their Sparrow. There's a disconnect between the carry and the front line of a team. And that, ladies and gentlemen, with the Orb Prime, the Prime cards being activated on the side of Oxygen and A, they should be able to get themselves into the mid lane, push down, and that boulder almost hit. Suki blinked away from it, but this should be the game right here for Team Oxygen, barring some big miracle play coming out from Arctic Wolves.
Yeah, I am aware once again, guys, about the timing issues, but I'm much more okay with Shane being a little bit more ahead than Shane being behind. So we're just
Oh,
gonna
am I
keep
ahead
on
now?
going. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it because we are gonna have a push in on the base. Again, it's just one of the difficulties that we have in trying to cast this game. But right now, Oxygen NA going once again for the core, but things
It
are
was a
not looking great.
it was Yeah, it was a good smash and grab, but the prime card is just, it's too much damage. Core is going to get taken out, and Oxygen are going to take the victory. Despite the fact that Arctic Wolves lost that game, I'm still impressed by their progression every single week. They're going to fall down to the loser side of the group stage, but I won't be surprised if they're able to make their way to day number 2 and into the semifinals. Pith. That was much more of an even game than I even expected, to be perfectly honest. I think the two fights that really didn't go the way of Arctic Wolves are where Crazy Fool, Survivor, and Cosby were all sort of disconnected from each other. They weren't playing around each other and with each other. It was more of a broken up skirmish than it was a 5v5. And Team Oxygen, being as refined as they are in that environment and in that team fighting situation, just took full advantage of it. And the two fights they came ahead of were entirely because of that fight. And unfortunately, one of those two times was a late game situation that ultimately cost them the game.
Yeah, for sure. Oxygen NA, they're definitely known for taking advantage of those late game situations, and they can do that by having superior farm. Throughout most of that game, they were ahead of Arctic Wolves, and it's a little bit strange how Arctic Wolves think about the game sometimes. Sometimes they think they're actually pretty far ahead when they're actually not, but they can still fight pretty well. Their lineup changing a little bit, you can see that it's affected them a little bit here. Whereas maybe they're a little bit more disorganized around the map. Phasma getting caught out a couple more times than he really should. And they still put up a really good fight against Oxygen NA, and I'm really excited to see how they end up doing in the lower bracket final to see who moves on to